Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to one of my local breweries here in Clackmannanshire in Scotland once again. So for this one we're going to return to Harviestoun Brewery, who are based along in Alva, and we've got a limited edition beer from these guys today. This one is called the Ninth Legion and it's a red ale. It comes in at 4.7% ABV, so it should be a quite interesting one. I think this is the first red ale that I've had from these guys, although they did have one quite recently which I think was called Broken Dial, that was an amber ale, and that was probably one of my favourite kind of session beers that you're going to find from Harviestoun. These guys of course are really well known for the Old Engine Oil beer, which is a kind of Scottish classic if you like, so that's one that I really do recommend you try when it comes to Scottish traditional craft beer. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews I've done from Harviestoun Brewery before. No doubt there will be some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you before. That's constantly being added to, and please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the Harviestoun Brewery then. So as I've mentioned to you before, Harviestoun Brewery is one of the oldest craft breweries in Scotland. They were founded back in 1983 by Ken Brooker, who used to homebrew, and he would invite people over to his house to taste his beer, and he used to make them give him tasting notes and things as well. But a few years later he decided that he wanted to brew for a living, so he converted an old steading, an old farm kind of house if you like, in Dollar into a small brewery back in 1986. But over the following years they gradually added more beers to their repertoire, and then they decided to invest heavily in the brewery in 1989, installing professional brewing equipment for the very first time. A lot of their old equipment was actually made from recycled dairy gear. But in 1994 they introduced the famous Schiehallion lager beer, which really made a huge name for itself. It's still one of the kind of classic craft lager beers here in Scotland. But the big break for the brewery came in 1996 when they won the Tesco Beer Challenge, which resulted in the first bulk order for the brewery, and soon after they launched their now flagship beer, which is the Bitter and Twisted, and they began their exports over to America as well. But since the turn of the millennium, the brewery has become even more decorated, and they introduced the Old Engine Oil Porter, which has proved to be a very, very popular export beer, and this has since been barrel aged to create the Ola Doof series. These Ola Doof beers are very, very nice. I mean, the Old Engine Oil Engineer's Reserve is another very, very popular export beer as well. But in 2003 they moved to their current facility, which is in Alva, a few miles away from their old one in Dollar. But the brewery was actually sold to the Caledonian Brewery from Edinburgh in 2006, which was in turn bought by Heineken from the Netherlands in 2008. But Heineken didn't want the Harviestoun Brewery, so it was actually bought out by a group of the Caledonian Brewery directors, and it's remained kind of independent ever since then, which is pretty cool. But as I say, one of the oldest craft breweries in Scotland, more of a traditional style brewery. As I always say to you, when it comes to Scottish craft beer, you do have the kind of more traditional style breweries, and then you've got the sort of new world style breweries as well, and Harviestoun are definitely more of a kind of traditional brewery. But their porter, that's it, you know, the Old Engine Oil Porter and the Ola Doof and things like that, so those beers are definitely fit in with some of the kind of new world ones. They've got the kind of big beastly flavours, but a lot of their other beers are the kind of lighter, more traditional session beers. But they've got a good selection there. Just to list some of their beers for you, there's the Schiehallion, which as I mentioned is the lager beer. That's one of my favourite beers when I come back home. There's the Bitter and Twisted, Old Engineer's Oil. They've got an IPA now, and they've also got the Ridge, the Broken Dial, and then they've got the Ola Doof 12, I think it's 12, 16 and 18 if I'm remembering correctly, but quite a few different beers. And as I say, if you want to read more about the brewery, you can check out the link to the website in the description below. But a very good brewery nonetheless. So anyway, let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. That's enough about the brewery for just now. So yeah, it tells you a little bit about why this beer is called Ninth Legion on the back. So it says, heard the legend of the lost Ninth Legion, the Roman soldiers who ventured into ancient Caledonia, never to be heard of again. We think they saw a rosy glow shining through the mist and were drawn like moths to a flame towards a gang of Highlanders enjoying their favourite red ale. One sip and they hung up their sandals and settled in Scotland forevermore. You'll think it a canny decision when you taste the dried fruits meet biscuit deliciousness of this cracking brew made with Czech, American and New Zealand hops to give a unique mix of malts and dehusked carafa, which gives Ninth Legion its distinctive red hue. So mystery solved, now what about Nessie? So yeah, quite nicely presented this one there. You can see Harvey the Mouse dressed up like a Roman there. It's actually quite cool, that. I do like the artwork on this one. And there you can see it has the standard Harviestoun bottle cap. If I just bring that up to the camera for you there. But yeah, there's the little stuff on the back that that I read out to you, but very nicely presented. This one, 4.7% amber ale, red ale sort of thing. So without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Yeah, nice smoky opening on this one, and we'll get it out into the glass. Oh, that's a really nice copper colour actually. That looks really good. You can see right away with that, just look at the kind of coppery colour that this beer has. If I bring that right up to the camera, you can see it. It is actually crystal clear. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but it's a really nice, dark, sort of rubyish, chestnutty copper colour. It looks very, very nice. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there, but overall it looks really, really nice. I mean, there's a solid kind of half finger of a frothy, slightly beigey, creamy coloured head, this one, and you can smell the kind of Scottish malt in this one. It does have that kind of typical sort of traditional Scottish beer graininess to it, but you can smell some of the nice kind of juicy red fruit esters coming out of this as well. The New Zealand hops, of course, will suit that down to a T. They give you these lovely juicy fruit characters. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Oh yeah. Yeah, so definitely one of these kind of traditional Scottish beer aromas, no doubt about that. So it's got a little bit of a kind of brown bready character to it. It's got a little bit of sweetness as well. It has that almost kind of buttery sweetness to it. A bit of sweet biscuit, maybe a little bit of richer caramel as well, but definitely a good bit of that kind of grainy brown bready note that you expect of Scottish malt. You can pick up a little bit of the rye in there too, which is quite nice. My stomach's rumbling, I must be getting hungry. Yeah, but that smells really, really nice. You can smell a little bit of the kind of fruity New Zealand hop coming off this, but there is a good bit of that kind of floral aromatic character that you would expect from the Czech hops. I wonder if it's Sats that they've used in this. But you can smell a little bit of that earthy hop, definitely some nice kind of floral notes, a little bit of lighter grassiness as well. And you can pick up a wee bit of that kind of red, kind of fruity note coming out of it too. You can definitely just pick up a little touch of that New Zealand hop, and a wee bit of the fruit will be coming from the American hops as well, no doubt. But yeah, it does smell like a really kind of typical traditional Scottish beer, this. It's really got that big Scottish malty character to it. So I think it will be kind of somewhere along the lines of a sort of Scottish amber or Scottish red ale, this one. I don't think there's much doubt about that. But as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck into it. But let's have a go at this one then. So this is the 9th Legion from Harviestoun Brewery here in Clackmannanshire in central Scotland. Slàinte. Yeah, definitely more of a kind of traditional bready beer, this. It really is leaning in towards the kind of the classic traditional Scottish beers. It's got that big bready kind of grainy character like it. As I always say, Scotland was a malt country, so we have some really, really good malts here. We don't grow our own hops, of course, so they tend to be imported. And some of the breweries brew some really nice beers with that traditional malt base and some of these kind of new world hops. And that's quite interesting, you know, this, without any doubt, this is quite a sessionable beer. It's a sort of darker sessionable beer is a good way to sum this one up. So in the middle of your palate, you've got a nice kind of, you've got a nice sort of bready malt base there. You can feel that sort of brown bready character just underpinning this one. There's a little bit of a buttery note as well. As the beer progresses, you start to get, or as the flavour progresses I should say, you start to get a little bit more of that kind of slightly spicy, grainy character coming out of the beer. Yeah, that's really quite nice actually. I mean, I like the way, I do enjoy some of these Scottish malts with that kind of typical grainy bready character coming out of it. The grainy spice just comes out quite a bit in this. And I just love how that comes across. It's such a nostalgic flavour for me, so I always get excited when I try it. In the middle of your palate, if you focus right on the middle of your palate, you can feel a little bit of richer caramel in there, but there's also a little bit of a kind of biscuity, grainy note in it as well. But yeah, it's nice. I do like the kind of buttery, bready character that this beer has, but it's straight up in the malt base. There's maybe a little bit of a kind of woody flavour kind of underpinning it as well, but the complexity to this beer is most certainly in the malt base. As you move into the aftertaste, like I say, a bit of that brown bread lingers there. There's a wee bit of graininess and some nice buttery notes as well. In the back corners of the palate you can pick up a little bit of earthiness in there, but as you come further forward you can feel the earthiness just coming with it, but it starts to get more floral and it's a little bit spicy, and around the front curve of the tongue you can pick up that lighter little bit of grassiness, which I do suspect is coming from the Czech hops in this beer. But that's certainly a really quite nice beer. If you get the chance to try it and you're into your... Probably this one is designed for people, as I say, that are into the traditional styles of beer, but if you enjoy the traditional kind of Scottish, English kind of real ales, if you like, then this is one that I think you are going to enjoy. It's quite nicely done. Yeah. So on the fruity side of things, this beer is just a little bit... On the fruity side of things, this beer is just a little bit sort of... it's just got a little bit of a slightly candied red fruity ester to it. It's a little bit figgy as well, but mainly it's a kind of lighter candied red fruit note that comes out of this one. As you, you know, it just kind of lingers there, but it starts to get pushed away by the slightly grainy character that this beer has, which is quite nice. I do like just how everything goes together in this beer, but most certainly it is a traditional style of beer, this one. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So if that's your kind of thing, I'm sure you'll enjoy this. If you like that nice kind of grainy, bittery note that comes along quite often. I can't speak in this review for some reason, but that kind of grainy character that is typical of these Scottish traditional beers, you certainly will enjoy this one. In terms of the mouthfeel, it's mid-bodied, it's got quite a wet mouthfeel to it actually, but it's got a little bit of oily character. The carbonation is quite soft. It is actually a fairly kind of crisp, refreshing beer, this, to be honest with you. If you chill it down, it is actually quite nice. The malt base has a little bit of sweetness, but mainly it's a kind of slightly grainy, bitter character that's coming off of this. The hops have a little bit of bitterness as well, but mainly they're smooth. It's not going to blow your head in terms of IBUs, and there's a nice little bit of a kind of juicy, fruity character coming out of this one as well. But overall, it's a really quite nice kind of traditional style beer, this. So it fits into the Scottish red ale category quite well, the sort of Scottish amber, Scottish red ale. But another really quite interesting effort from Harviestoun Brewery, and I do enjoy trying some of these traditional Scottish style beers every so often. It's a good change of pace from these kind of big hoppy beasts that you get from the likes of Cloudwater and Cromarty and Tempest and things like this. It's a really interesting beer, this. So if you like the traditional beers, then this is one that you definitely want to have a go at. I'm not sure how widely available it is or how much longer it's going to be available for, but if you come across it, it is a limited edition, so buy a bottle and see how you get on. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. It's always great to hear from you guys. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do let me know your own thoughts and things, and do check out my social media and all this as well. But once again, thank you, and I will catch you guys very soon. The 9th Legion, a limited edition red ale from Harviestoun Brewery in Alva here in Clackmannanshire in central Scotland. One of my local breweries, and it's always good to go back to these guys. Slàinte just now.